All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you to recap our Bills Rams win. Well, the Rams win over the Bills, I should say, 44-42 last Sunday at SoFi Stadium, as well as preview our Thursday night football matchup against the 49ers. We have a special doubleheader episode tonight because we have a short week playing on Thursday night football. So we're going to start off kind of recapping what happened against the Bills, and then we will also preview our matchup against the 49ers. But Jake, I have never been so excited to be wrong.
Oh, I know.
I were so wrong about how this Bills-Rams game was going to go, and you and I we're stand-up guys. When we're wrong, and we admit it, and we're happy to be wrong, and this is definitely one of those situations. So let's talk about it. I mean, something I did say when we were previewing this game against the Bills, and you also, I think, said this, that if the Rams wanted to win this game, they had to make it a shootout. It was the only way. You want to beat this team, you want to beat Josh Allen.
Well, you said that. I didn't think they could win a shootout, so good for you. You got that right. I never thought we'd see this.
Well, I in my mind, I just think, a guy like Josh Allen, and he still had an incredible game, which we'll talk about. I mean, Josh Allen is very, him and Saquon are my two picks for MVP. I think both of them are very deserving of the award. And he had an incredible game. But the Rams were able to have the shootout on offense that they needed to have to win. And I think that was a very pleasant surprise to many Rams fans, you and I included, just because of kind of the inconsistency that we've seen on offense throughout the season. Even though they have been getting better in previous games, we still kind of were like, is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? Is Josh Allen going to absolutely butcher our defense? Is he going to carve him up? That's kind of what we thought was going to happen. And he had his moments, but the defense did just enough to allow our offense to get out there and win. Looking at our stats, our leaders, obviously Matthew Stafford, 2 touchdowns, 320 yards. Kyron Williams, 87 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, 162 yards, 12 receptions, 1 touchdown. I mean, those 3 guys, really, I think were the key to the success for the offense. And then kind of an unsung hero, Cooper Kupp. He still went for 92 yards, had 5 receptions and a touchdown. But he had a very good game in the blocking game that I think is going to, maybe go unnoticed on the stat sheet. But he still, obviously was a major contributor to offense. Jake, what do you think the sole factor was that propelled the Rams to be able to beat the Buffalo Bills on Sunday?
I think there were a lot of factors, but if you ask me how they scored, how on earth, how the hell, how whatever, they scored 44 points in this game, well, I'm going to tell you, it is because of a theme that you and I have literally said all year long. I'll start off by saying this. I was surprised to see this, but I wasn't entirely shocked that they had it in them because I picked them, just like you, to win the Super Bowl because we both said they were capable of having an offense like this. Why did it take until week 14 to see it? Health. The offensive line for the first time all year had back-to-back games of being fully healthy, all 5 that they intended on starting. And that made a huge difference, not just in the passing game, but running the football. We saw Kyron get 2 touchdowns. We saw Blake Corum be able to run. I mean, when you're able to have a pass protection that doesn't give up sacks against a Buffalo Bills front that has one of the more dominant pass rushers in the league in Greg Rousseau and just absolutely blank him in that pressure column, I mean, that is a stellar performance. And I just think that really, you're not going to be playing too many teams like the Bills the rest of the year. You won't play another team like that in the regular season. You might see them if you get as far as to the Super Bowl. But just talking about what's in front of us right now, that Rams team looked like one of the best teams in football this past Sunday in a game that you and I picked against them. We didn't want to, but we owed it to our listeners to be objective and to really, we'll never say anything we don't believe in, right? And that's what I think separates us from being just a fan podcast and just having a little bit more. And, as much as it sucks picking against the Rams, I mean, we said, well, at least I said this. I don't know. You probably agreed. I think you did. They're winning out regardless of this outcome against the Bills. Well, I haven't changed my mind. So instead of going 10-7 winning the division, I think they'll go 11-6 and win the division. And I think right now, if you're a Rams fan that gave up on this team, instead of other people crapping on you, people should welcome you back on. You know, bandwagon and all, more the merrier. This Rams team, as long as they stay healthy, they basically made a statement to the rest of the league. This is a team that's won 3 straight road games. They've won 6 of their last 8 games in general. And no one gave them a chance in hell to beat the Bills. A lot of Rams fans said this would be a blowout. I said it'd be a 10-point loss. I believe you said it'd be something in that neighborhood. But they went out and they won. And you know what else? They won a game that Craig Rolstad officiated in. And he had his handprints all over this game. So I have a lot of respect for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, alien as Sean McVay put him, probably the MVP after that performance. But instead of looking at Josh Allen saying 6 touchdowns, look at the Rams and say, wow, Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns and you still won. If you told me that before the game, back when we're talking about a 2018 caliber Rams team or a 2021, I would have said there's no way they win. But this team, they won. And they won in all 3 phases. Defense made key and critical stops while giving up big explosive plays, sure. But they made that huge stop, that QB sneak, took a lot of time off the clock at the goal line. And then in addition to that, you had the special teams unit with the punt block, the score, Hunter Long's first score. That's kind of funny. I would have thought it would have come in the shape of a touchdown pass, but nonetheless. And the offense was just incredible. And Matthew Stafford has just been unconscious as of late. It's something that we continue to see. It's something that Sean McVay continues to do. The Rams, when they are healthy, they have Stafford and co. They are unstoppable come December.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it was a big statement win against a very good Buffalo Bills team, particularly their offense. You know, when we were previewing this matchup, we talked about how, like, this offense is basically Josh Allen. Not that they don't have, like, James Cook or, you know, Amari Cooper, but the key difference is Josh Allen, and he's very, very good, and he still played very well against the Rams. I mean, all the credit to him. I mean, for him to put up the numbers that he did, you know, looking at this now, you know, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, which was an NFL record, I believe. You know, for him to do all of that and the Rams to be able to overcome that and win, I think says a lot. And honestly, you know, the Rams could have won by more. You know, we had a bigger lead at one point, and that started to kind of close in thanks to Josh Allen kind of doing what he does. So, you know, anybody watching this game, I mean, it's not incredibly far stretched to say that the Rams could have won this game by more. So it's very impressive, I think, what the Rams did against the Bills. You know, the defense, yes, had some moments where they gave up some big plays. Obviously, you know, you're playing against a very good quarterback. It's going to be a struggle at times, but overall, you know, they did what they needed to do to get the win. So I was super impressed. And I also want to give a shout out to the offensive line. They stepped up against a Buffalo front that's pretty good. You know, I thought that they executed perfectly. And something that people might notice is the run game was able to actually get going, unlike, you know, in previous weeks. You know, when your offensive line is struggling, it doesn't just affect the passing game, it affects the run game too. And, you know, they had obviously some moments against the Bills where, you know, they made, you know, some bad calls and the run got blown up, but I thought they did a very good job compared to previous weeks, creating those lanes, letting the run game thrive. You know, like we talked about, you know, Kyron Williams, 29 carries for 87 yards. Blake Corum had 8 carries for 34 yards. Puka Nacua had some, you know, rush yards. He had 16 rush yards. They like to get him involved in the run game a little bit too. So yeah, I just thought it was a really, really impressive performance, and it just shows how good this Rams team is when they're healthy.
Yeah, and the Rams have only run the ball over 40 times, I think twice in their time with McVay, and they're 2-0 in those games. You know, it was just one of those games that I think they really needed that we didn't realize they needed, because I was already chalking this up as a loss. And I'm like, this game, it'd be nice to win. And those are the best wins, I would say, Alexis. It'd be nice to win this game. Was I expecting them to? Absolutely not. And for them to win this game against the Buffalo Bills team that I think proved in that game that they can go to the Super Bowl because they have a response for just about everything. That was a huge, huge, huge win. I want to bring up the Super Chat, Man of Paradox. I remember last week, Man of Paradox had the Rams beating the Bills. And I didn't think that, Man Paradox was crazy or anything like that. I just had a different, idea of the game. So shout out to you for getting this one right. Hi, folks. You'll recall I predicted Rams victory against the Bills. I see the game this Thursday as most critical for the Rams this year because it's harder to prepare for. If we win, ticket to New Orleans. So you are saying they go to the Super Bowl if they win this game. I appreciate the 10. I'll say this. Sean McVay is dominant on Thursday Night Football. He just has been, and I don't expect them to lay an egg like I think some other people are hoping for. I think this is where, Alexis, you're going to find the media, you're going to find 49ers fans that are going to look at that game against the Bills and say they are due for a letdown. And you know what? I think you're looking at it wrong. I'm thinking you're looking at it like this. Last year, they had a game like the Bills game. It was against the Ravens. They lost that game. They went on to win every game after that. They won the tough game this year. They won that game. They've now won 3 straight road games. They've won 6 of their last 8. And Amber, who is a friend of the show, she gives us a lot of credit, and she's always in here. But I did catch you said something about the Lions that I want to address here. Can't say the injuries because the Lions are scoring 40 plus, whatever. That's true. But the Lions, day one, they had everybody around them. The Rams did not. They did not have Alec Jackson. Joseph Noteboom went down. Kevin Dotson left the stadium in a walking boot. He hasn't missed a down, but he's been banged up the majority of the year, which a lot of people don't know. No Rob Havenstein, a lot of injuries all across the board. Steve Avila, Jonah Jackson. If you don't start healthy, then it's going to take you longer to have any sort of continuity, any sort of momentum. You can't build it. And that was the thing with the Rams. They didn't have, the ability to stay healthy, okay? Right away, they're down their number one corner, or that they expected, in Darius Williams. Trey White, the plan was for him to play in November. So now he gets thrown into the fire. They had injuries every which way. So this is why it took until the week 14 for them to finally look like injuries were an excuse. Because I hear excuses. They're the reason for this happening. If you never have any sort of sustainability, Puka Nacua goes down that game. Cooper Kupp not long after. At no point did they have a baseline as to what they could be. They were basically trying to figure it out on the fly. It's why Tutu Atwell, who barely even plays in week 1, is starting in week 3. And that's the thing. We look at the 49er game upcoming, and we'll get into that, a little bit later. But the 49er game upcoming, Alexis, I have it right here. The win probability chart is absolutely insane. The 49ers were winning the entire game. The win probability chart, they are above 60%. They stay above 80% for like 75% of the game. Guess what? It goes from the 49ers at a 93.9% win probability, and this is 4th and 5, LA 37, to then the Rams steal the game and win at the end. And guess what? For the 49er fans looking at that like, oh, you guys got lucky. We should have beat you. We were banged up. Here's who played in that game. Ready? So in that game, Tutu Atwell had 4 catches for 93 yards. Demarcus Robinson had a catch for 32. Jordan Whittington, who hasn't seen a reception or a target in the offense in 3 weeks, had 3 catches for 28. Kyron had 2 catches for 27. Colby Parkinson, 3 catches for 21. And Tyler Johnson, 3 catches for 20. Okay, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp did not play. And the offensive line was, you were starting scraps, right? That was the first game back for Alaric Jackson, but you were really starting scraps. So much so, they had to use a trick play and have Tutu Atwell throw the ball. Okay, that's how down bad they were, and they still won 27-24. In addition to that, Alexis, I seem to remember during that time, the Rams were historically bad against the run. They have since recovered. They struggle against the run for sure, but that defense only got better and better and better as time went on. So this is what I'm talking about, is that the Rams right now are what they're supposed to be. This is who we thought they were going to be. This was the vision. If they continue and they build off this Bills game, they are going to be a freaking nightmare for any team.
I agree. Now just talking about the 49ers, we talk about kind of the Rams injuries and being banged up. I mean, I think the 49ers are one of the few teams that have had it worse this season than the Rams. So if we just, just being honest about that, I mean, the 49ers have been absolutely banged up, in shambles. They've had kind of a revolving carousel of players the entire season, just in and out. Looking at, as of right now, the date that we're recording this, I mean, Brock Purdy's back. So they've got Brock Purdy. They've got Juwan Jennings, who you and I like a lot. Deebo Samuel's playing, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle. So they're relatively healthy in the receiving game. But in the run game, I mean, they're out Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. So they're now to their third.
Maybe even Guarendo. He hasn't even practiced.
Right. So they might even be out their third string running back. So essentially, let's see if we can even see. I think Patrick Taylor Jr. And Israel.
Abanikanda.
Abanikanda, yes. He played for Pitt, right?
Yeah, he was a draft crush of mine. I don't remember if you liked him, but I know I did.
I don't know that I saw much of him, but I recognize the name. So the 49ers are very, we'll just say for all intents and purposes, they've got their 3 starting running backs out, all right? So they probably are going to struggle in the run game. I think that offense is probably going to run through Kittle against the Rams. Although Juwan Jennings...
the guy had 175 yards and 3 touchdowns last time.
So they're going to have to do a better job of covering him, and that does concern me a little bit with our secondary, which I think is kind of a weakness right now for the Rams. So, 49ers, I would say, are a little bit healthier against the Rams than they have been. They're still not totally all there. I think Nick Bosa, I don't know if you've heard an update on him. Was he not... I think he was limited at practice, so we're recording
Did he practice?
He might not have practiced. I'm trying to pull up. I'm not finding...
Which I'm not putting too much stock in, and the reason being, because I know everyone gets all upset about practice, and they're like, oh, all these guys weren't practicing for the Rams. It's a short week. It doesn't... If you have any sort of injury and they expect you to play, I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep you out. I think really the concern, as I look this up, by the way, for Kittle, I think the concern... Not Kittle. I'm sorry. You just said Nick Bosa. The concern for me is Kobe Durant. Is he going to be okay? He's played very well. Obviously, I believe Akella Witherspoon can fly right in there, but Kobe Durant is in the corner that should be replaced right now. That is Darius Williams. So I don't exactly love that. Also, lung contusion sounds awful. I wouldn't want a lung contusion. I just... So
yeah, I think kind of we touched on Juwan Jennings. It's who's gonna cover him, I guess is the question for the Rams right now. Kobe Durant injured. Darius Williams has been a liability. If we're being honest, he didn't look good.
Yeah.
The past couple games, wouldn't be super psyched to see him covering Juwan. George Kittle, the Rams have been better against tight ends, but George Kittle is so good that you kind of, he's always going to be a factor, right? So there's some big question marks on this offense, even though the run game might not be there for the 49ers right now due to injury. They've still got some receiving threats in there. Jake, I think, talking about this 49ers offense, to me, the key is obviously, yes, stopping Jennings, but I think you have to really bring the pressure on Purdy because I don't think he's going to be able to rely on the run game, as we just covered. I think he's going to...
Nick Bosa did not practice, by the way.
Okay, so that's a big loss for the 49ers defense.
But you were saying Brock Purdy, so sorry for interrupting.
All good. So I think that the key to stopping this 49ers offense is going to just really pressure Brock Purdy. I think we're going to have to see big games from Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Byron Young up front, really putting the pressure on, force him to make quick decisions, and then I think that he could turn the ball over, or they're not going to be able to get any type of rhythm on offense. Like I said, I think it really matters that their running back squad is injured. I think that's going to really affect their game plan. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but to me that's where the key is to stopping the 49ers, is just putting the absolute pressure on Brock Purdy.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And Brock Purdy has had some good success against the Rams. In that game, by the way, he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 137.1 passer rating. It was 22 of 30 for 292. And he ran for 41 on 10 carries. Purdy's been a problem for the Rams. I mean, he just has, so that is something you have to worry about for sure. And big reason is because you get that guy's confidence going, and he could be a problem. I mean, we've seen it. He's a good player in this league. I don't care what anyone says. Is he worth $60 million next year? No, but he's still a good player. And so you have to be cognizant of the fact that he can move. He can, get out of the pocket. He can, make you miss and, run for a first down, but he could also buy himself some time with his legs. I mean, this is the number one, pressure team in the league. They force tons of pressures on quarterbacks, but, Brock Purdy and his mobility, I mean, he could do basically what we saw Jalen Hurts do. With that said, though, the way the Rams are playing and the way it's trending, that offense, I don't know how you're going to stop that offense if what we just saw is what they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is what they are. I think a big thing in this game for me is, you look at that Bears game, and, here's the thing, okay? The 49ers, they just beat up on a bad Bears team. An inexperienced quarterback who is going to have his bumps and his bruises. He's going to have his highs. He's going to have his lows. Caleb Williams threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, right? But the problem was, aside from that, they really just couldn't move the ball. They tried running the football, and the 49ers did a really good job of stopping the run. You saw that DeAndre Swift had 14 carries, 2.7 yards per carry. They really shut him down. And because they took the run game out of it, they really left it all up to Caleb Williams to have to do everything on his own. I don't necessarily think that you just look at a team that stopped the run well the week prior, and it's like, oh, can't run the football. It doesn't work that way. The way the Rams are run blocking, I've been really impressed. And I'll tell you right now, I think the Bills put a heavy emphasis. They didn't buy this Rams pass attack at all. They put a heavy emphasis on stopping Kyren Williams and keeping him bottled up. And that's why he had 29 carries and didn't have over 100 yards. The Bills defense gave up a lot of yards to Christian McCaffrey, gave up a lot of yards to Jordan Mason in the snow. But I think they knew the Rams right now, the one thing you can't have is Kyren Williams going, because when you get him going, now it unlocks play action. I don't think they're going to have an issue running the football. I understand the 49ers have improved on that area of their game, but after that game against the Bills, now it's out there. This team is not afraid to throw it all over the yard. This team is not afraid to be explosive. But also another thing is this team used a lot of bubble screens, and they had a lot of success, and they mixed up their pitches. They used a lot of jet motions, jet sweeps, end arounds, and what that did is give you multiple things now on tape that you have to be ready for. And just when you think you know everything, it's Sean McVay. And I think we learned, Sean McVay gets in his own way, and we're critical of him, but he's one of the 5 best play callers in football. I think he is the best culture builder in football, truthfully, for any head coach. But he's definitely one of the top 5 best play callers in football. And for everyone that has a complaint with him, and I'm with you, I have complaints about him, he was fantastic against the Bills. And I thought one thing that really stood out to me, especially that fourth down that they could have gone for, they kicked the field goal 10-7. That's him not only just being a good play caller, because obviously that's not really play calling, right? That's just decision making. That's game management. He's starting to really get back to where he was. And so Kyle Shanahan, I know they're desperate. They're 4-3 at home. They're 6-7. They're still in the mix. But Kyle Shanahan has not proven to me that he has that game manager in him. So if Brock Purdy and the 49ers don't get up to a big lead early on, I do think the Rams are going to have, I won't say they'll win easily, but I think they'll win comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, for sure, and kind of talking about our offense and the run game. I expect the Rams to try to get the run game going at first. Like you said, the 49ers, I think they are able, to stop the run. I do think the Rams might be able to overcome it, but at least I think they'll at least try, because I think what we're seeing with the Rams and what I think that Sean McVay is finally starting to, I don't know if accept is the right word, but when you use a balanced offense, I think that what we have seen is he is just naturally a very pass-happy coach. He has been his whole career. Sometimes it works, most of the time it doesn't. So seeing this balanced approach of mixing in the run with the pass, not only does it give opposing defenses trouble and you don't know what's going to happen, especially when you have a running back like Kyren out there, because he really is kind of that Swiss Army knife that teams don't really know what's going to happen. Sometimes you have running backs or you have players that you put in and you know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to run the ball, right? Kyren, they have started to use him a little bit in the receiving game. He lined up a lot at receiver against Buffalo. He's very good in pass pro. You don't really know what's going to happen when he's out there, and I think the Rams are starting to use that to their advantage a lot. If they can run more of that balanced offense that we like to see from them. So I do think that they're going to try that. I do think that they should put a heavy emphasis on the run, at least at first. If the 49ers are able to shut it down, fine, move on from it. But I would like to see them do the balanced offense that they've been doing, particularly the past 2 games, because they've had a lot of success when they do that.
I think a lot of that also stems from their success, their obvious success. Like everybody now knows it in the play action game, and now Stafford wants the play action. He wants it. I know there was a rumor or a narrative out there that he didn't want play action. I can tell you that is false. He likes play action. So, he's kind of in his bag right now. Stafford, right now, the last 4 games, there's not a better quarterback in the league than Matthew Stafford. Maybe Josh Allen. But the way he's playing, he's been unconscious the last 10 games. I mean, it's been incredible. And so, yeah, I'd probably say the 2 best quarterbacks right now in football in this current time, I'm not saying for the full season, but the 2 best quarterbacks in football just played against each other. And Matthew Stafford was the one that won. Now, quarterback wins aren't everything, right? But it just goes to show you that right now, the Rams have one of the best quarterbacks in football. They have a guy that has, 47 fourth-quarter comebacks, game-winning drives, whatever. I mean, you have that. Then you have a running back that I believe I saw a stat the other day, Alexis. I don't know if you saw this too. Since the Eagles game is leading the league, Kyren Williams, in missed tackles forced. You have an offensive line that is dominating at the point of attack. And you have a defense that they've played some games where they were down, but let's not forget what they did against the Saints, only giving up 14 points. Let's not forget what they've done since the bye week. Let's not forget the interceptions they've had, the sacks they've had, the pressure they've generated. And let's not forget the special teams. It takes all 3 phases. And the Rams right now, they're trending upward in the all 3 phases category. And it makes them a really tough out. And when you look, and here's the thing that stems on the whole trap game, right? Because that's the most overused thing. Oh, yeah, this is a trap game. First off, anytime you play against your rival, especially a rival like the 49ers that has guys like Deamador Lenore coming out and saying that they were trash essentially and they got lucky. Like, what was it? Trash can finds a steak or whatever illiterate thing he tweeted. When you do stuff like that, bulletin board material, right? So there's no way that this is a trap game because it's also a primetime game. There's no trap game on primetime. The Rams are fully aware they need to take care of business. In addition to that, a trap game would also follow after the trap game would be a big-time game. Going up against the 3-10 Jets they are now, I think it is, that's not a big-time game. Like, yeah, you're traveling across the country, But you know, and you got to win the game. And I think it's going to be probably the toughest game they play all year because of the travel, because it's a December football game. You know, in the Northeast. I live in the Northeast, so I could tell you it's probably going to be shitty weather. But I am not at all. I said the 3-10, not 10-3. So I'm not at all sitting here and saying, yeah, this is a trap game, because the Rams aren't playing anybody following the 49ers where you're like, oh, they might be looking ahead. And Sean McVay is the opposite of a coach that'd be looking ahead. They were barely celebrating the biggest win potentially of his regular season career. Like, barely celebrating. Like, they had that. I mean, I've seen them celebrate more for other things. That was a huge win. And they were just ready, straight to business, get ready for the short week. So I'm just saying, you know, like, looking at it right now, if there was a trap game and say, okay, and it wouldn't be a divisional rival, but the argument would be if the 49ers, they were playing this week, and then next week, Alexis, they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, they might be looking ahead a little bit, right? That's the narrative. That would be a little understanding. But good God, this isn't a trap game right before the Jets game with 10 days to prepare for the Jets afterwards, a mini bye. So I'm just telling you right now, that's how I see it. I think the Rams are going to be fine. They're going to play their style of football. If you think they lay a dud, then you just don't know Sean McVay and you haven't been paying attention.
I agree. I think the Rams are fully aware of the implications of this Thursday night football game. I mean, like we've touched on many times, the Rams lost a lot of games early in the season that they should have won.
Yeah.
Regardless of injury, they went ahead and they lost, right? You know, the Bears comes to mind. So because that happened, the Rams have now put themselves in a situation late in the season where every game is critical, and it's crucial that they get the win, particularly this game against the 49ers, because it's a division rival. It's another team in the NFC West. The NFC West is wide open. Yes, the Rams beat the 49ers in our first matchup, but 49ers 6-7. Listen, it's very critical that the Rams win this game. So if anybody wants to say trap game because of, whatever narrative they've made up in their mind, it just simply doesn't make sense. This is arguably one of the most important games the Rams will play the rest of the season, because it is an NFC West team in a division that is wide open. So, I don't know how anyone would come to that conclusion.
It's just so funny because we would talk off air about shit like this. And I just knew when I started talking about the trap game, like, you had like eyes rolling in the back of your head, essentially, because we've had this conversation so many times. Not every single game is a trap game, okay? Not every single time there's good momentum, there's, guaranteed to be bad momentum. The Bills won 7 straight before having their down game that everyone was like, see, I knew it. Bills were due. Well, yeah, I mean, the greatest show on turf lost 3 games. And then the game, when they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they lost 2 games. Okay, so they lost 5 games across those 2 seasons. They didn't go undefeated. What, are they not good? Right? I mean, the 60-0 Patriots lost the Super Bowl. Like, you could, they were always due. Alexis, they were, those New England Patriots, the undefeated team, they were always due for a loss. They were always due for a letdown. I mean, we could play that game all day. And I just, seriously, I'm all about just talking football and focusing on the football element. This whole, like, they're due for a letdown, that's just rooted in mainstream rhetoric that has no actual basis of anything that could be considered a fact. And we're not going to sit here and even entertain that anymore. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But I think it's time for the prediction part that I know you've been dying for. I don't know. Maybe you haven't, but
I mean, I can certainly give my prediction if people haven't guessed already.
Yeah.
I do think the Rams are going to win.
Yeah,
I do. I do think the Rams are going to win Thursday night. My score prediction is 31-24 Rams. I think that's a very fair prediction. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. Listen, I think anytime you play a division rival, typically those games are pretty close. They're always hard fought. There's a lot on the line for both teams, not just the Rams. 49ers also need to, win in order to keep their playoff hopes alive, right? It's a division that's wide open. And I think that the Rams are going to come away with the W. I just feel like they have all the momentum right now. I don't really like what I've seen from the 49ers, in recent weeks. And again, they obviously are injured, and we've talked about that and made sure to point that out because that's obviously a very important factor. They're missing some very good players across the board. So I just think that, they are not on the trend that I think the Rams are right now. And I think the Rams are going to go out there. I think they're going to build on the positive momentum that they've shown, particularly offensively. I feel like this offense is really starting to get hot. And listen, it wouldn't surprise me if the Rams scored more than 31 points. I'll say that. But I'm giving credit to the 49ers. I'm giving credit to the rivalry. And, I think I think, Shanahan has done well against the Rams historically in the regular season, but I do think the Rams are going to get the win.
So the 49ers have given up 30 plus only twice this year, but it's 2 of the last 3 games. I don't think the Bears are good. I'm sorry, Alexis, for your grandpa. I don't. I'm still really mad about that loss. Anyway, I think you're on the right track. I think it'll be a close game. The Rams don't blow anybody out. They absolutely could have blown out the Bills in that game. It just didn't, it didn't work out. The Bills came back and everything. But I'm going to say they win 30-24. I think I like that score. So I'm going to say 30-24. Yeah, I'm going to give them 3 touchdowns on the 49ers side and a field goal. And I think the Rams, they'll have a collection of field goals, I think, but I think they'll get to 30. Yeah, I like that. So 21. Actually, I'll say 31-24 because I think they're going to score 4 touchdowns and kick a field goal.
So we have the same score prediction 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and the last time that happened, they won 44-42. So hey, you know what? Let's keep it going.
We don't need to get the score right, honestly. As long as we get the win part right, I'll be fine. Whatever, the Rams could win by 1 point or 40 points. As long as they win, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on the same page as far as that. Now, what are your 3 bold predictions for this game?
Let's see. So, number 1 bold prediction. God, I feel like I'm a broken record. I always give this guy credit, but Tutu Atwell tried to throw a touchdown pass in the first game. He did complete that. I don't care what anyone says. DeMarcus Robinson came down with it. They called it an incomplete pass. I'm going to say they have him throw a touchdown in this one. Tutu Atwell touchdown pass. Number 2, I'm going to say Brock Purdy leads the league in sacks responsible for. I think he had 14 right now. I think the Rams get to him 5 times or more in this game. So 5+ sacks than Brock Purdy. And last but not least, I'm going to do it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's time. Josh Allen looked his way. He was on the field for 6 snaps. And Josh Allen, who is an alien, would not throw anywhere near number 4. Ahkello Witherspoon is picking it off against his former 49er team. And I don't know if it'll be a pick 6, but he's getting a pick in this one as long as he starts.
Solid. Some solid predictions there. I'm going to say Kyren Williams 2 touchdowns. I don't know if that's bold or not, considering he just did it, but I feel like he is going to have a good game. He might not put up the yards kind of like against the Bills. I think the 49ers are going to do something similar where they are going to really put an emphasis on trying to stop the run. However, I do think nevertheless, he'll persist. And I think we could see a potentially big game out of Kyren Williams. Let's say Kyren Williams, 2 touchdowns. Let's say, you know what? I think Cooper Kupp's going to go for over 100 yards. I think we saw Puka have his day against the Bills. Cooper Kupp still got 92 yards receiving. We kind of touched on it earlier. He had a very quiet 92 yards somehow. I think because, Puka was just so involved that, people might not have noticed Cooper Kupp, as much. He caught a touchdown. But it was crazy because I feel like nobody was giving Cooper Kupp any credit, for what he did against the Bills, particularly in the blocking game, that he excelled at. But I think that Cooper Kupp's going to go over 100 yards, have a touchdown as well. I think we're going to see a big game out of him against a division rival. Defensively, let's see. Maybe I'll do a more realistic prediction because I've kind of been getting really bold on my defensive predictions on the past few episodes. So let's say defensively, I'm going to say Braden Fisk, 2 sacks. I like it. He has, again, you talk about positive momentum. I feel like he's going to have a really good game. You know what? Let's do a 4th prediction. I think Jared
I was going to do that too.
A 4th one?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say Jared Verse also has a sack because I feel like, I saw a lot of people saying that he had a quiet game, against the Bills, which, sure, I think he was due a quiet game. He's had such a phenomenal rookie season, but I think he's going to have a really good game against the 49ers. So those are my predictions. You want to throw in one last one before we head out?
Yeah, so real quick, Sean McVay, by the way, is 7-2. I finally looked it up. 7-2 on Thursday Night Football. And since Amazon Prime has taken over, John Kimball actually pointed out, the Rams are undefeated. So let's go with this. I feel like it's overdue. I feel like they definitely wanted him to get this. They've been giving him a lot more carries. I'm going to say Blake Corum gets his first touchdown. I have a gut feeling about it. So that is my 4th bold prediction. So let's see if I can remember my predictions. 5 sacks. 5+ sacks, right? That was one of them. Okello pick. Blake Corum. And Tutu Atwell passing touchdown. So he'll catch 3 touchdowns. And then I'll be wrong, even though I had the right idea of Tutu Atwell getting his spotlight. So, yeah.
I like the Corum pick. I have the past 2 weeks bet on a Blake Corum touchdown.
Yeah.
And
Speaking
I really
of which,
thought,
Prize Picks.
Oh yeah.
You could go if you think Blake Corum, if you think Blake Corum is going to have a touchdown, you can go and check out Prize Picks. Link is in the description. $50 when you play a $5 lineup. Use code JKBogan, and they got a lot of stuff. They even have a free square. So what I mean by that is it's a freebie. You get 2 to 6 players for a lineup. Patrick Mahomes is 0.5 yards for, I believe, this whole week. So definitely check that out. And yeah, JK Bogan, shout out to Prize Picks.
Shout out to Prize Picks, guys. Game's coming up, 2 days away. That's one of the benefits as football fans of Thursday Night Football is, we don't have to wait that long. After watching our team on Sunday to see him play Thursday night against division rival San Francisco 49ers. Jake and I will be back on Friday night to recap that game. But as always, please follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheAlexisCraft with a K. You can follow me on Instagram at AlexisCraft. You can follow Jake on Twitter and Instagram at JKBogan. And guys, like I said, we will be back Friday night. But until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.